Let's talk about side markers, or as the Brits call them, US cruise lights. So I've got a couple of samples here and we can just walk through them. Here is a side marker that was used on the early Stags, and this was used on the 71s and some 72s. This particular one that you see here where my hand is was used on 73 Stags at least, that I can make out. Now you may ask what the differences is, and the major difference that you see is if you look at this reflex reflector, there are no screw holes or anything on the front, but the 73 reflector actually has one hole, and it's actually held in by this little carriage bolt or coach bolt, if you can make out that little square piece on the end, and a nut, and it's actually goes through the front and it's held in at the back. Now the earlier ones doesn't have any screw holes. It's actually held on the back with 3 screws, you can see there. And I've got a sample of one of each here, and as you can see, this one has the hole at the front which goes all the way through, and this one, if I turn it over, has the screw holes for the 3 screws that go in from the back, so they're different. On the back of these, there should have been, this has fallen off, but it's basically a reflector piece of material, so it reflects a bit more. Now, going back to the side markers, the reflector part in this case is both the same for the 2 flavors, and again I've got some samples here as well. So regarding the old reflector, there's some screws, these sort of interesting threaded screws that are used to hold that on, and then there's a gasket that goes over here in front. So now an interesting observation here is, let me turn this around a bit, is I have 3 bases, and the first one here is actually from a UK car. It's an indicator, and this is the thing that goes on here. As you can see, it's just the indicator, and the bases were more or less the same. So this is the base for the indicator. This is actually blanked off here, but the bulb goes in the middle. Now if we refer to the US side marker, the early one, the one that has 3 holes, you can see there's 1, 2, 3. That was used on the 71. Then the later ones, the 73s, just have the 1 hole. But if you make out carefully, you can see the impressions where the screw holes go. The holes go for the earlier one. Now another interesting thing is if you look at the indicator for the UK cars, you turn that base over, again you can see the 3 little points where they were meant to make holes. So I think basically, they use the same form and just use different configurations to make them. So for the US side marker, it's basically, you just put this in here. Obviously this is an old one, and then there's 1 screw that holds that in from the front. Now, as I did grow up in UK and used to watch Blue Peter, I think you can convert a British indicator into a US side marker with a little bit of work. This I think will go in there and matches up. This reflector, you may need to take this thing out at the end, because I think this won't sit otherwise, but you could potentially remove that anchor point. That's for the UK indicator, by the way. And if you find any of these, all the best luck to you, because I've been looking for many years. But you can put this in and you can make a US, oh, obviously you'll have to take that out and put the light there. You can make a side marker very cheaply or inexpensive compared to what they are. So that's something. Another thing I'd like to point out, let me rotate this around again, is that the gaskets that came with the indicators and the side markers, the original ones, look like this, pre-formed, pretty good. Many years ago I got these from SOC Spares, but they're not available anymore. The ones you can get now are just really just a flat piece of rubber, which do work, but the original type does protect the paint on your body, so you know, looks a lot better. So again, here's the original style. This is the latest style, and I have got a couple that were too thick, some are too thin, but these are the only type that are available now. The attachment points are the same, and I think also the rear badge is held on with the same thing. These little brackets, and then I'm not 100% sure about the indicator, if it's the same bulb. Probably is, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, that's my collection of side markers. I have a 71 Stag, and I've been on the hunt for a very early reflex reflector, a nice one if you have one, or if you have a mix on your car of both, either or, and you're interested in swapping, I'll be happy to swap you with a decent rear side, later side marker that was used on the 73. As I said, I've been looking out for a early 71 style side marker. I have two Stags. One of them does have the early 71, the correct side markers. The other one, I don't. It's using side markers from a 73. But even my 71, I've only got one. I've got one broken one of these, and I'm trying to look for a nice one. This one looks like it had a light bulb melted. But anyway, so bit of a long video, but just give you an idea of all the options that you can do with your side markers.